Why did you feel it necessary to speak out against some of the measures that took place socially during the period of the pandemic? What was important and significant about it for you?
Well, first let me say that I didn't at first. I bought into it. I was someone that I went through a pretty unique experience in Los Angeles, and was locked down there. I have a nonprofit theater company that had to shutter, and we started doing our work online. And I was masking everywhere. I was keeping my social distance. I was adhering to the requests made of me, and I felt angry at people that didn't do that. I felt angry at there was a protest in Orange County, I remember, of people that didn't want to put masks on. Got very angry about that. And as time progressed, I eventually got out of Los Angeles. I drove cross country and saw areas of the country that were not adhering to the policies, and eventually wound up isolating myself in New York State for a good 7 months. And it wasn't until I came to the UK in January of 2021 that I started to have questions. And I was here on a job, and I noticed that people, this was in the midst of the worst part of the lockdown here, and I noticed a lot of people were not adhering, again, to these requests made by their government. And I thought, well, they're going to have a hard day coming up, that there'll be some serious death here. And, I kept my mask on, and I kept adhering to the policies. But it wasn't until much later that I started to have questions. And when I saw that there wasn't a huge death rate here after I'd witnessed personally what was happening, I started to wonder more and more about what we were being told and whether it was true or not. And so it took a while for me to speak about it. I was staying in Soho, and I was there one Saturday morning, and I heard a lot of noise outside. And it was a protest, an anti-lockdown protest. And I went out. I had a bicycle, and I went out, and I joined the protest, not because I was joining the protest, because I was curious about what was going on. And I started talking to people. And I saw the way that they were being described in the press, and it wasn't true. These were not, National Front Nazis. These were liberals and lefties and people that believed in personal freedom. And I began to educate myself, and I began to open my mind to what was going on. It was a very different political environment in the United States, very divisive, very much based on politics. If you were, well, it changed. At first, if you were a Democrat, when Trump was president, well, you weren't going to take that vaccine because it was Trump's vaccine. And then that seemed to somehow change. It was kind of Orwellian. It was like we are no longer at war with East Asia. It was now we were thinking about it a different way. And if you didn't take the vaccine, you were a Republican. And it wasn't that way here in England. There was a much more tolerant attitude towards the diversity of opinion. And so I was really grateful to have been in this experience so that I could get a different perspective.
Perhaps part of your perspective was born of a kind of Swiftian travel, and you would be a good Gulliver because you are a giant in numerous contexts. But because I would say that kind of authoritarianism and the certainty that necessarily accompanies it was present in the media and the state dictates in this country also. What I find interesting, and again, laudable in what you've done, is that you've undertaken your own journey from what was a de facto position of, like, we were told it was a unique health emergency and that the measures undertaken were necessary in order to protect human life. What more noble goal could there be? But as this has unfolded, the position has to be amended. It's become clear that many of the original measures were not as rigidly undergirded as was first claimed. And in fact, as you have explained, there is a lot more political ideology at play. What is, if something like a pandemic becomes politicized to this degree, if conversation becomes shut down, if condemnation of unvaccinated people becomes as sanctioned, like, you know, on CNN when Don Lemon was saying that, you know, these people are idiots and we should shame them, when certain people were saying that they should be denied health care, when Joe Rogan was condemned for sort of having a conversation, it indicates that the climate that we're living in has radically altered. And if you have authoritarianism where conversation is shut down, you are losing one of the great treasures, perhaps the primary treasure, of democracy. Do you feel, Tim, that the pandemic revealed something about the nature of establishment power, the aesthetics of establishment power, and perhaps the way that liberalism itself is changing?